everyone. You can wave to everyone in the audience, Arjun. We have about 85 folks here. Quick introduction about Arjun. Arjun is a investment banker turned entrepreneur, and they started Jai Kisan about 5 years ago to empower farmers and the rural economy. And today it's a seamless banking experience for the rural India. And he actually moved to a village to actually found this, and I think it'll be exciting to see what they've done. There are thousands of farmers that actually benefit from Jai Kisan's work and the loans that they disperse. So with that short introduction, over to you, Arjun, to kind of share your journey and talk us through it.
Thank you. Thanks a ton, Vikas. Hopefully I'm audible. Guys, very much appreciate you all having me here and giving us this opportunity to walk you through a little bit of our journey and what we are building. Sunil, Vikas, I think just to kind of throw context as, the topic of this discussion is around building for Bharat, right? Obviously, what we are building with regards to Jai Kisan is as Bharat as it gets. So I'll just walk you through a little bit of contextuality as to, where this idea came from, why it came in, and, how the journey has been thus far, and try to kind of correlate with that, the overall journey of being able to build products and services for Bharat, right? So guys, I think, 2017, my co-founder and I quit our jobs in private equity and said, hey, what do we want to do next, right? At that time, the term Bharat was not discovered, defined, or as sexy as it is today. There were two things or two urban phenomena that really tipped us over to kind of jump in and start working in this particular rural space, right? These were namely in India in 2015 onwards, we saw this very interesting phenomena where Rashida, and I'll just define her as Rashida, which is, let's say, your maid, my driver, the person who cleans our office, folks like this, the urban poor, could walk in to a Xiaomi store, to a Chroma store, to an Oppo store, while not being or having any sort of financial or digital footprint, right? And be able to buy any of those products, which are consumption-based products, and there would be a number of lenders ready to finance those particular products. Interestingly enough, if the same Rashida was a rural Indian and she walked into a store where she wanted to buy any sort of seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, or any other income generating product, not even a consumption product, there's not even one lender to help finance that particular product except the merchant themselves. Okay. So I think that is when we said that, hey, if everyone's out here building for these 200 to 250 million urban poor, who is supposed to cater to the Rashida of rural India, right? And the Rashidas of rural India are a billion plus, right? And I think that is where we said that, hey, that's a very, very large and untapped market. And if it has happened in urban in a very short span of time, it is definitely possible in rural with the various sorts of technological advances that we were seeing at the time. Number two was the rise of financial services companies like Bajaj Finance, right? Obviously, we kind of jumping in to create a company, create a startup. One of the most important things was to be able to ensure how do we create a very robust and sustainable business. And at that time, we kind of realized that, hey, there's a location called Dharavi in Bombay, which probably most of us kind of know of and are acknowledged of. 20, 25 years ago into Dharavi, even a police guy won't go in their uniform, right? Fast forward to today, it's obviously the economic center of various things in the city. But at the same time, there are thousands and thousands of collection agents who on a daily basis are collecting money off loans which have been given to those individuals, right? So what happened here? We were able to change the face of that particular economy through financial inclusion, right? And in the process, Bajaj Finance obviously ended up becoming one of the most influential and large financial services companies in the country. You had businesses like a Xiaomi, which none of us had heard of, in 2010, 2012, 2013 to become one of the largest smartphone manufacturers in the country. And the most interesting impact was that all of these urban poor or individuals ended up getting access to superior consumer durable products with which they could increase their standard of living, and at the same time were digitally and financially included in the overall financial ecosystem, and thereby were able to access other financial services going forward. Right? So these two factors kind of made us jump boat and say that, hey, there is a very, very large need and a very untapped market opportunity to be able to build a large financial services platform, starting with credit for rural businesses and individuals. Right? In this process, obviously, we faced a lot of challenges. Right? As I mentioned at that time, building for Bharat was not a term. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced in the process was to be able to get the right kind of talent to the door. Right? Exceptional tech talent, exceptional sales talent, exceptional product talent, exceptional data talent wanted to work on problem statements which they could see attracted funding, which they could see were very clearly large, and which they could hear about being untapped and have a large market opportunity. Right? All of this wasn't there for these particular ecosystems with regards to rural India, and thereby we had to be able to kind of drive that particular narrative ourselves to be able to attract these folks. Number two was adoptability, right, by these individuals and rural businesses, right? And there I think COVID played a very, very large role and part in being able to kind of completely flip that around, right? Before COVID, for a farm, for a rural business, technology was a way to thrive. Post-COVID, there was a realization that took place that technology is the only way to survive. And I think that is where a lot of businesses like ourselves saw a significant increase in adoption, adaptability, and thereby a decrease in cost of acquisition costs and things like that for ourselves. Right? Now, what we also kind of saw in this period is that a lot of companies build for Bharat, right, from city centers. And just going back to Vihas's point right there as well, Adriel and I actually decided to move to a village and stay in the village for about 8 to 10 months before we formally kicked off Jai Kisan or the products that we do today at Jai Kisan. I think that really helped us to be able to understand the pulse of Bharat, right? How folks interact, what is needed, what is not needed, and what will work, right? And one of the biggest realizations there for us, as we were kind of doing our research, that how do we cater to rural businesses and individuals with a full stack of financial services? We need to start somewhere, right? With some sort of financial service. Now that can obviously be credit, insurance, savings, or payments. Yeah. The reason why we did go ahead with credit was because at the end of the day, folks, in India and some other emerging markets, merchant credit is an expectation. It's not a service, right? And I'll just take a quick minute to define what this means. All of us in this room have touchwood a decent amount of liquidity. But if we kind of just do a quick throw of hands and say, when do we pay our milkman? Right? It's usually at the end of the month. Yeah. When do we pay our kirana stores for whatever we buy on a daily basis? It's usually at the end of the month, which basically shows that we as customers expect merchant credit as a part of the transaction. Khate pe dal. In urban India, this is limited to consumption products, low ticket size consumption products. In rural India, this kind of expands further to income generating products as well, because of the nature of the ticket size, but also of the cash flow that will be generated from the income generating product, and thereby enabling that particular individual to be able to repay that cost of the product or price of the product. Now, what that does is that obviously creates a major working capital issue for the entire value chain. And that is where we realize that, hey, if we want to get to all these individual customers who live in rural India, is there a way to be able to go in a top-down fashion, thereby A, mitigating our CAC, and B, limiting or mitigating our risk as well, right? And that is where we kind of identify that, hey, the most effective, financial product to be able to kind of hook on to the rural business and the individual would be credit with which we could, rather than burn money, but actually generate revenue from day one. And that is where we started, doing some analysis and research, and kind of figured out that about 500 odd brands, right, interact with about 70-75% of the rural population on a quarterly basis, because these are not consumption purchases. This is not a cell phone which you're buying once a year, once in 2 years. These are seeds that you're going in and buying every cycle. They're pesticides that you're going in and buying every month or every 2 months. These are fertilizers that you're going in and buying very, very regularly. This can be equipment, feed, medicine for your livelihood and things like that, to be able to kind of ensure that you're able to kind of generate an income. Right? And that is where we started with 2 products, right? One is supply chain finance, where we started working with these large brands who are interacting with all these individuals through a very long, complex supply chain network, right? And we started working with these brands to be able to solve for their account receivable challenges, provide financing to their vendor dealer network, and thereby ensuring that they are being paid up front. And at the same time, making sure that that particular vendor dealer network is digitized by using our technology application, which is called Bharat Khata. Right? In the process, what we were able to do is, unlike running with a carrot approach and an incentive approach and a cashback approach, we were able to put the stick approach and say that, hey, we are providing you credit, and this is a covenant for being able to use this particular application. Right? And in the process, you will digitize yourselves and get access to even larger lines of credit. And I think that was a great realization that, hey, Bharat can work unlike urban India, right? On or without cashbacks, incentives, and things like that, because the need or fundamental need for the value proposition is so strong itself. What we interestingly saw was these merchants and value chain participants started also digitizing their transactions with the individual customer base that they were dealing with. And at that time, we operationalized the first ever checkout financing at a mom and pop retail outlet through Bharat Khata. Right? So the same Rashida, who's a farmer, right today, when she walks into any of our 36,000 Bharat Khata empaneled outlets and says that, hey, I want to buy, X packet of seeds, Y packet of pesticides, Z packet of fertilizers, and can you put it on my tab or मेरे खाते पे डाल दीजिए? The merchant says that अब मैं आपके खाते पे नहीं डालूंगा. ये भारत खाता है. I will take your application here, and within seconds we'll find out whether you're getting approved or not. Right? I think we're very proud that today we are able to kind of do this journey within 10 to 12 minutes in 9 different languages at these point of sale, to be able to provide financing to these rural individuals to be able to buy any sort of income generating product at that point of sale. And at the end of the day, we do a settlement with that particular merchant for the products that they may have sold to those particular individuals on credit. Right? Now, some trends that we kind of identified as we did this, right? Is that digitization has, that's needless to say, has rapidly taken off in rural India post-COVID. And what we see is that at Bharat Khata empaneled outlets, 62% of the payments that they do receive, they receive in UPI, right? And this is an average across 9 or 10 states that we are today present in, right? We just saw a report from Nielsen earlier yesterday, right, where we learned that there are over 425 million rural internet users. Right? That's bigger than the population of the United States, who are present today actually on the internet and can digest all of these digital services. And then, most importantly, around financial services, that 70%, despite the above facts, rely on informal credit, right? And less than 5% have access to sophisticated savings or insurance products. And I think that is where we at Jai Kisan are looking at kind of continuing to build on the journey that we've created and build on the value proposition to be able to offer to the rural business and the individual, right? And further expand our offerings to include savings insurance as well. right? So the overall comprehensive goal here becomes that we help these businesses and these individuals increase their incomes by offering the right kind of credit at the right time, right? Then we help them grow their savings or the increase in income that they've had because of step one, right? And then finally, to be able to protect their savings and incomes through insurance products, which we digitally get to them. We're very, very excited. We're launching a direct-to-consumer app in the second quarter of the next fiscal year, which will kind of decouple our overall journey from the cost to the individual, and thereby enable the individual to be able to access all of these financial services sitting at home themselves. So overall, that's been our end-to-end kind of journey as we've built for Bharat. And over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, we look at kind of building a full stack neobank financial services platform that caters to both rural businesses and individuals. Guys, please summarize here as we've lived this journey of building Jai Kisan, and at the same time, we've seen the ecosystem come about extremely, extremely well in this space as well. I think a couple of the takeaways here are that obviously rural India is on complete fire with regards to digitization, with regards to expansion, and with regards to also limiting recessionary trends that we are seeing in various markets today because of the fundamental growth that there is. Right. Number two, we are seeing a large shift in Bharat of moving from a cash economy to a digital economy, but at the same time also moving away from a black/grey economy to a white economy as people are understanding the benefits of the same, A, because of digitization, but B, because of various other kind of stick factors as well, like demonetization, GST and things like that. Right. We obviously are seeing that these folks are kind of relying on technology to be able to kind of survive in a way. But I think to underpin it all, at the end of the day, India does operate in a market where the value chain participant or this particular middleman has been a comprehensive source of services for these rural individuals. And thereby, whenever we are looking at building any sort of products for Bharat, it becomes extremely, extremely key as to how do you leverage and provide a value proposition to that middle stakeholder and thereby be able to provide your services further to those individual customers. Right. So just a little bit of kind of insights from our end, and thank you so much, Vikas. Thank you, Sunil, for giving us the opportunity to do so. Would love to obviously take any initial questions here or offline as we see fit and take it from there. Thank you.